Welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you news from Kern County Fire, today's Planning Commission news, today's KZGN Talking Points editorial, and more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyo Kern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Wignick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. The news from the Kern County Fire Department in Lake Isabel. Shortly before 4:30 p.m. last Saturday, the Kern County Fire Department received a report of some grass fires near the south end of Erskine Creek Road by Lake Isabella. Because of the potential of a drought-impacted watershed, a reinforced alarm was initiated and crews were dispatched. First arriving crews discovered 4 separate fires threatening a structure and some fences and determined that the blaze could be controlled with a reduced response. Most incoming equipment were called off and the fires were controlled in approximately 1 hour. The fire covered a combined area of about 2 acres. Assisting personnel from the U.S. Forest Service, BLM, and the Kern County Sheriff coordinated efforts to mitigate losses to approximately $500 worth of fence. No structures were damaged and no injuries were reported. Fire crews remained throughout the evening to mop up and to monitor area for hot spots. The cause of the fire is under investigation. The fire department is again reminding everyone to make sure to have clean areas around their homes and outbuildings. And if you can have clean areas around fences, that's great too. The vegetation is very dry and just waiting for some ignition source. In continuing news about the valley's water, Kern County Chief Deputy County Administrative Officer Alan Christensen said, "Our valley must be on course to the new requirements of the Sustainability Groundwater Management Act at the Indian Wells Valley Cooperative Groundwater Management Group regular meeting." Last Thursday, he said the new law was prompted because in many basins statewide, including the Indian Wells Valley, groundwater levels are falling because more groundwater is being pumped out of the ground than is being replenished. The new law requires establishing a Groundwater Sustainability Agency, or GSA, by the middle of 2017. The GSA board would be a decision-making body, and they would most likely be appointed rather than an elected body. They would be made up of GSA-eligible public agencies with water supply, water management, or land use authorities. He expressed it should be easier to go forward with the now established land use management plan in place. He outlined the GSA responsibilities. These responsibilities include the ability to conduct studies, registration of wells, establish measuring mechanism for measuring, as well as recording water extraction and establishing fees. The new GSA has to develop a new groundwater sustainability plan by January 2022 and manage groundwater sustainability by 2042. Final thoughts revolved around the uniqueness of the Indian Wells Valley water basin. He said it's not a one-size-fits-all based on the players, the history, and the variety of complexities. Hydrogeologist and groundwater management specialist Tim Parker from Sacramento was present at the meeting as well. He elaborated on the formation of the GSA. Parker said the GSA would have its own legal counsel along with a manager or general manager. He also talked about how such a GSA would seek grants pursuant to Proposition 1 to help fund the GSA, including projects to work towards groundwater sustainability in the basin. I asked our supervisor, Mick Gleason, about this last week. He said that the county is now moving forward to the formation of this agency. He confirmed that who actually would sit on this agency is up for discussion and more. So, we'll have to see how the county proceeds. Last Friday, I had an interesting call from a local citizen expressing his concern that we now celebrate Memorial Day on the 4th Monday of the month instead of the original day established as May 30th. The call was from Dalton Sullinger, so I looked into the history of the day itself. It all started on May 5th, 1868. General John Logan, a Union general during the U.S. Civil War, and then National Commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, a fraternal group of veterans, officially declared a holiday that was then known as Decoration Day. The first commemoration took place in May 1868 at Arlington National Cemetery, when the graves of the U.S. Civil War dead, both Union and Confederate, were decorated with flowers. New York was the first state to recognize the holiday in 1873. By 1890, it was recognized by all the northern states. The southern states refused to observe this date and each state of the South had their own Memorial Day-like observance on different days of the year. It was not until after World War I that Decoration Day became a time to honor U.S. military persons who had died in all wars in which the United States had been involved. And it was not until this happened that the southern states began to observe the holiday on May 30th. But the southern states still observed their original dates as well. This is also when the holiday began to be referred to as Memorial Day instead of Decoration Day. But it wasn't until 1967 that President Lyndon Johnson signed the legislation officially renaming Decoration Day to Memorial Day. Memorial Day was one of the holidays affected by the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, enacted and signed into law in June 1968. This bill, reassigning certain holidays to a Monday to enable 3-day weekends for federal employees, went into effect on January 1st, 1971. Prior to 1971, Memorial Day, originally called Decoration Day, was observed on May 30th of every year. So, Mr. Sellinger, there's your answer. It was changed to allow long holiday weekends in 1971. If you're still watching this news, you still have time to leave here right after the news and get down to City Hall for this week's Planning Commission meeting. It starts at 6 p.m. down at City Hall tonight. They have these agenda items. During the public hearing segment, they'll discuss code enforcement abatement action for the following properties. First, they'll have a pre-abatement public hearing to abate property at 1135 North Inyo Street. This one was continued from their last meeting. Then there will be another public hearing for these locations. First, a pre-abatement public hearing to abate property at 235 West Aline, and another one at pre-abatement public hearing to abate property at 509 West Inyakern Road. Under the discussion and other action items, the Commission will review the Southern California Edison Downstreet Substation Landscape Plan. This is a request by SCE to approve the plan. This plan was an agenda item before, as SCE asked to change the plan. So now the Commission will have the opportunity to review, make changes if necessary, and then pass on to SCE. So, if you're interested in these topics, head on down to the Planning Commission meeting tonight, right after the news. Of course, if you're not heading down there, then stay with us for Ridgecrest Talk right after the news. Stay tuned for this week's KZGN Talking Points editorial right after the break. Welcome back. Now it's time for the 45th KZGN News Talking Points editorial. Today's editorial is titled, What are the Potential Issues Concerning a New Groundwater Sustainability Agency? But first, a couple comments received from last editorial titled, Should the City Waive Legal Costs for the Dale Howard Code Enforcement Case? The couple comments I received were more on the level that this was a long time coming and that they were glad to see the city prevail to get it cleaned up, but no one felt the legal fees should be waived by the city. Now on to today's editorial titled, What are the potential issues concerning a new groundwater sustainability agency? Well, as we now move on from the heavily disputed Kern County Land Use Management Plan, we are now trying to find out about this new groundwater sustainability agency that needs to be operational by 2017. This is a state law passed a few months ago by Sacramento. I asked our supervisor, Mick Gleason, about this last week. He said that the county is now moving forward to the formation of this agency. They have hired a consultant to provide an implementation plan. I mentioned that this new agency brings up a lot of new questions. Mick agreed. My first real point I'd like to make is that this agency is only for the water issue in the Indian Wells Valley. So anyone that feels that people should sit on this agency from outside the aquifer area is wrong. The GSA should be comprised of local people with local interest to the valley. Local people understand the uniqueness of the problem. We don't need outsiders coming in telling us what we should do or shouldn't do. This is in effect a whole new level of government oversight on us. Here in the Indian Wells Valley, here's a short list of questions I came up with. All of you should really pay attention to these questions. 1. Who makes the appointments to the new GSA? The county? Who will be considered for the appointments? Will there be an application process? How many voting members should be on the agency? Look out for this one. We'd want to make sure that there is a good representation of affected people, but not make it so big that it is a cumbersome membership. Next, Will all stakeholders in the water debate have a seat on the GSA? I believe all stakeholders should have a seat on the agency. Who are the stakeholders? Well, I could start real quick with the following: the county, the city, water district, the Navy, the Indian Wells Well Owners Association, the IWV Water Cooperative, Inyo County, BLM. There should at least be one layperson in a voting position. How about someone from Trona? And I'm sure there are others that will surface. The seventh question I came up with: where will they meet? I believe all their meetings should be in the Indian Wells Valley. Somewhere to meet anywhere outside the valley would be disrespectful to the citizens of the valley. My eighth question was: when will they meet? Ninth, will they hire a staff? I have no doubt that there will be at least some manager, secretary, some engineer, and legal counsel. 10. Who will pay for it? Good question, huh? Someone suggested that this agency could go for grants to cover its costs. Will we once again have to pay for an unfunded state mandate? I can see that coming. 11. What will their authority be? This is a biggie. Will they overrule county supervisors? How about the Indian Wells Valley Water District? Will they be able to issue laws covering the city of Ridgecrest? 12th, who will they answer to? 13, how will appointees be removed and by who? It should not take an act of God to remove a poorly performing member. 14, will agency members have terms of office or indefinite terms? Long-term appointees can become dictatorial. 15, will members have residency requirements? I believe they should be residents of the valley. 16, will they be elected? 17, will they be paid? 18, if paid, how much? Now, how about this one? Can they levy fees and fines on us? This is another biggie, and I'm sure many more questions will come up that have to be handled. Everyone in the valley should be very astute in monitoring how this agency develops. It could turn into a dictatorial agency if we aren't careful. We don't need water dictators controlling the valley. We need an agency that cares about the people, the businesses, and other affected agencies of the valley. We need to watch this very closely. I told Mick Leeson that the establishment of this new agency has got to be totally transparent. No backroom planning, no secret deals to get appointed if the decision is for appointing versus elections. Then there has to be a balance in the membership. The agency must be under the guidance of the Brown Act for their business. And again I say, this is a whole new level of government overseeing our daily lives. And this agency could have a real impact on our personal and business lives. I don't know about you, but I'm very apprehensive of a whole new governing agency. An agency that will have to mold the need to protect our water supply with the needs of the people and businesses of the valley. I hope it does well for us. In conclusion, the GSA should be comprised of local people with local interest to the valley. This should be a locally controlled agency, not one that sits on the other side of the Sierras or even worse in Sacramento. It should be local people invested in the valley, local people that can understand that we are unique and individual, local people affected by the agency's decisions. I'm Tom Whitnick, and that's what I think. I'd like to know what you think. If you have any comments about this editorial or would like to discuss or recommend a topic, I'd like to hear from you. Please email them to info@kzgn.net. Stay with us for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Keith for the weather.
Thank you, Tom, and I hope everyone had a happy Memorial Day this past weekend. For the weather, from the National Weather Service, strong to severe storms will be possible in the southern plains, with a second area of severe weather forecasted for the Great Lakes area and the Ohio Valley. Isolated tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail are possible, especially across northern Texas into western Oklahoma. Our temperatures across the nation: Massachusetts, 77 degrees. Carolinas came in at 79, Ohio, 78. Southern Texas, 75, Kansas, 66, North Dakota, 68, Utah, 60 degrees, Colorado, 57, New Mexico, 58, Idaho, 60 degrees, San Francisco, 56 degrees, and Los Angeles came in at 60 degrees. For us locally here in the IWV, tonight will be partly cloudy with a low around 62. West-southwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts as high as 20. Wednesday will be sunny with a high near 93. Southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Wednesday night will be mostly clear with a low around 63. West wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. Thursday will be sunny with a high near 95. Calm wind. Thursday night will be mostly clear with a low around 64. West wind 5 to 10 miles per hour. And on Friday will be sunny with a high near 98. West-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is a look at your forecast. And back to Tom and the rest of your KZGN News.
Thanks, Keith. Let's go to Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Tuesday afternoon to everybody. Let's start locally. CIF baseball. Burroughs came up short 11-3 on Friday afternoon at Burroughs. They led 3-0 going into the fifth inning when Granite Hills got hot, and a few breaks here and there, a few balls that bounced the wrong way, and a few walks, and that led to an 11-3 win for Granite Hills. So Granite Hills advances. They'll play tomorrow against Laguna Beach. John Bradley had a great season. He and his team, Bradley in his fourth year, they finished 19-8, an extremely good record. They were 8-2 in the league, the first year in the Mojave River League, and props to the Burroughs baseball team. Just a shame that we couldn't maybe advance to another round, but what a very good season. A lot of seniors on that team also. All right, the NBA, a little bit of mystery lies tonight. Atlanta will play against Cleveland. Now, Cleveland will try to close out the series and make it 4 straight wins over the Hawks. The Hawks have struggled. They've had some injuries. The Hawks played a very good game the other night on Sunday night, but ended up losing in overtime. So if things don't change, it looks like it's going to be the Eastern Division champions led by LeBron James, the Cleveland Cavaliers. If Atlanta can win tonight, that'll force a Game 6 Thursday back in Georgia. All right, last night, Golden State and Houston. Houston survives. They win game number 4. They'll send the series back to Oakland on Wednesday night. Now, it was pouring rain outside. Very few people really knew that. They had some very severe weather and flooding in the Houston area. And when the game was over, they asked the fans to stay at the Toyota Center. And a lot of those fans didn't leave the Toyota Center until about 3:30 in the morning. And that's when the storm finally cleared out of Houston. The streets were that flooded. They had pictures of a lot of the fans still there hours and hours after the game ended. So, Houston stays alive. Dwight Howard played well last night. James Harden, 45 points. That outdoes Stephen Curry's 40 points from the game on Saturday night. All right, Golden State, by the way, trying to win their first NBA championship since 1975. In fact, it was 30 years ago yesterday when Golden State last won an NBA championship when they beat Washington. So, all right, in Major League Baseball, St. Louis wins. They beat Arizona. St. Louis leading the Central Division of the National League. The Yankees all over Kansas City, 14-1. The Rockies, the Mets also win. The Orioles beat the Astros, slow them down a little bit. In fact, the Orioles bullpen has been very good. They retired all 12 batters they faced in that game. The Giants are hot. They win again. They beat Milwaukee at Milwaukee. The Twins win their best start in a long time. They beat the Red Sox. The A's, they've won 3 in a row. They got off to a terrible start. They shut out Detroit, though, yesterday. And the Rangers win again. They've been scoring a lot of runs. All right, the Angels, now 1 game over 500. The Angels win last night at Anaheim. A walk-off single by Luis Pujols gives the Halos a victory over the San Diego Padres. And the Dodgers also win. They beat Atlanta 6-3 at Chavez Ravine. The Dodgers won 2 of 3 over the weekend against San Diego. The Angels lost 2 of 3 against Boston in Fenway. All right, we'll have the standings posted up there for you this afternoon. In the AL East, the Rays, Yankees, and Orioles lead. In the Central, Kansas City, the Twins and Tigers. Twins, as I mentioned, off to their best start in a long time. And out west, who would have thought the Astros, despite losing yesterday, are 29-18. Their best start since they probably created the napkin. That's how good the Astros are so far this year. In the National League, the Nationals, 27-18. They lead the East and the Central. St. Louis, the Cubs, and Pittsburgh. And then out west, the Dodgers leading. They're 9 games over 500. San Francisco playing great. They're only a game and a half behind in second. And Arizona is at 500, 22 wins, 22 losses. Your top 3 teams out west. All right, with that said, hockey. We got to talk hockey. You can't forget hockey. One of the best series maybe going on in the history of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, right under our nose here in Anaheim. Last night at the Honda Center, the Ducks defeat the Blackhawks 5-4 in, of course, overtime. The last 4 games have all been in overtime. Saturday night, the Blackhawks were up 3-1, got behind 4-3, ended up coming back and winning in overtime. Last night, somehow, miraculously, the Ducks led 4-2 when Chicago, in the last 2 minutes, scored 2 goals. The last one with 28 seconds left in the game to put the game in overtime. And then in overtime, here come the Ducks. They win 5-4, goes back to United Center in Chicago. That'll be on Wednesday night. Boy, even the non-hockey fans have been treated to some great hockey. All right, the Rangers in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay can close it out tonight. Look for their first final ever in their franchise history. They play tonight in New York. That is game number 5. Your sports for this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Tom Heck for KZGN.
So that's the news for today. All of us at KZGN-TV know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing us, KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only community TV station. Now here's a cute video of ducks playing on a waterside.